If you are experiencing adverse symptoms, then what I would recommend is that you invest in a glucometer and get your blood levels checked every single morning and see what foods and in what quantities affect your insulin levels. If you notice that certain foods are going to raise your insulin more than others, then you would want to Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another Sunday Q&A. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today's question comes from a World Carnivore Tribe group on Facebook where a member had recently asked, "Hello everyone, I have some symptoms of insulin resistance and I have been informing myself for the last month about this diet and I want to start as soon as possible, but I have some doubts. My goal is not to lose weight since I'm already in good shape and I do sports daily, so I would like to gain or maintain muscle mass and fix my symptoms. Should I make sure I consume 2,000 calories a day when following this diet? Thanks in advance to everyone who wants to help." Well, the first thing that I would like to touch on is the 2,000 calories. When it comes to caloric intake, the 2,000 calorie is a general recommendation, and it's not something that you should really listen to because depending on your weight, your activity level, and your total daily energy expenditure, that's going to dictate how many calories you need. So in terms of the 2,000 calories, I would not pay attention to that whatsoever, and you would need more information. We would need to know something about how much do you weigh, what's your activity level currently like, to give you a better recommendation on what exactly you should be consuming. The second thing is with regard to your symptoms with regard to insulin resistance. If you are experiencing adverse symptoms, then what I would recommend is that you invest in a glucometer and get your blood levels checked every single morning and see what foods and in what quantities affect your insulin levels. If you notice that certain foods are going to raise your insulin more than others, then you would want to minimize those foods and opt in for the ones that don't raise them quite as high. And then the third thing is with regard to maintaining or building muscle. Whether you are trying to maintain or build muscle, it's going to require a somewhat of a different strategy. There are two requirements when it comes to building muscle. Number one is you need some type of external stimulus, and the second is you need an adequate amount of protein. With regard to both of these, what exactly do you need to do? Well, if you are trying to maintain the amount of muscle that you currently have, then whatever type of training you are currently doing, then you would want to do 1/3 of that volume for up to 3 months to be able to maintain the amount of muscle mass that you have. And then in terms of the adequate amount of protein, depending on whether you are in a caloric deficit or caloric surplus, that's going to dictate how much protein you actually need. Your protein requirements are generally going to come in a range, and that range is going to be anywhere from 0.8 to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. So when you are in a caloric surplus, your body's naturally going to be in a more anabolic state and your protein requirements are not going to be quite as high. Whereas when you are in a caloric deficit, your body's naturally going to be in a more catabolic state, meaning your protein requirements are going to be a little bit higher. So if you are trying to maintain, ideally somewhere around 1 gram per pound of body weight is going to be ideal. But if you are trying to gain, you're going to want to try to get a little bit more protein, especially if you are going to be in a deficit. If you're in maintenance, then you don't really need to add too much more than that. But with regard to gaining, the two requirements, number one, just doing 1/3 of the volume isn't going to be enough because if you want to gain, you need to do progressive overload. So you're going to have to challenge yourself and you're going to have to increase the amount of volume because the more volume that you can do during your workout, the more of a hypertrophy response you're going to be able to achieve. So you are going to want to try and get a little bit more of an intense workout if you are trying to build muscle. And then with regard to the calorie consumption or your protein requirements, then if you are in a caloric deficit, you're going to want to get closer to that 1.5 gram. If you're in a really big deficit, if you're at maintenance, around 1 gram per pound of body weight, and if you're in a surplus, then you could get away with around 0.8. It's really going to depend on the amount of calories that you are consuming. But once again, if it's not really your concern to either gain or lose weight, you just want to improve your health, then the calories really don't matter too much. But that's pretty much it in terms of your question. If you have any other questions, go ahead and ask your questions down in the comment section so I could help you guys out. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to keep making these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.